Hello and welcome everybody to Merlini's Mailbag episode 15, and this week's topic is timing windows in Dota. Most of the time, timing windows is something associated with real-time strategy games such as StarCraft 2 or Warcraft 3, but you can also apply that concept in Dota 2. So what was the actual question? So this week's question on June 4th. Hi Merlini, during the G1 League Finals, Aoi brought some good insight, but there were some things I didn't understand. What are things like timings? Are they fixed depending on the heroes in a game, or dynamic? I guess my main question is, in what way do pubs differ from official games? Where do you learn about the different things like timings and item progression and everything that separates a mindset of pros from that of pub stars? Is there a welcome to the Dota competitive scene you suck guide by Purge? I spend most of my spare time reading and watching everything about Dota tries to improve, and I never hear pros go in depth about the dynamics of the game. Thanks. So I thought this was a pretty good question. G1 League Finals was around, I think, 2 weeks ago, and Aoi, being a former StarCraft player, talks about timings a lot, and I talk about it occasionally, not as much as he does, but I may start talking about it more. So what exactly is a timing window? So this is taken directly from the SC2 Liquipedia. There's the link. A timing attack, or timing push, is an attack that is done during a certain period or moment in time that results in an increased advantage compared to attacking outside that window. The time period in which an attack is stronger than outside the time period is commonly referred to as a timing window. The best timing windows are one where both player-dependent and opponent-dependent factors coincide. So if you play SE2 at all, you should know what this is, or at least what these terms mean. And if not, just bear with me. So this is an illustration of a timing window, courtesy of SC2 Gears. This was the image given in the Wikipedia file. So just as the Terran concussive shells upgrade is completed, and you can see the beginning of the window is here in the gray, and before the Protoss charge is completed, Terran has, I guess, around looks like 30-second window to attack. So Terran concussive shells, it allows their marauders to slow whatever unit they attack, and the Protoss charge allows their melee units to close the gap by just charging in directly to the fight. So concussive shells are extremely useful for kiting, but Protoss charge is really good at not getting kited. So Terran has this 30-second window where they can attack, and it's important to utilize this window, because if they don't do it, why are you researching concussive shells at this point in time? Why not just push it back 30 seconds, or why even get it at all? So it's important that if you have this window, you either utilize it or you don't even need this window to begin with. Don't waste your gold, don't waste your resources into researching or putting your gold in something, as in Dota, to something that you're not really going to take advantage of. So how does this apply to Dota, and how long is an actual timing window? And I take the term pretty loosely, just because Dota is a much different game from StarCraft. So a timing window can range anywhere from a few seconds to 5 to 6 minutes, even longer possibly. So some short duration examples are when a Queen of Plains Blink is on CD. It's 6-second CD at level 4, so you can try and kill her, stun lock her, silence, whatever during that duration, and try and kill her. Or, for example, in the laning phase, when hero is tanking tower or creeps in lane, this might just be a couple of seconds, but if you can stun them and get that extra 100 damage from the melee creeps white game, that may present a kill. And long duration examples, your team possesses the Aegis of the Mortal. If you do Roshan, you don't only do it for the gold and the experience, you also do it for the Aegis. So try and utilize that, and either push and try and suicide it so you have 2 lives, so it's pretty much like a 6-on-5 in the fight. And the other example is opponent's Glyph of Fortifications on CD. Sometimes people just waste it, or you try and bait it out with a push, and you really want to abuse this 5-minute window when it is on cooldown. So some more examples in game. So during the lane, first 5 to 7 minutes of the game, some examples in the side lanes. Opponent is OOT, out of tangos or salves. They're out of regen, and they're waiting for their Ring of Health so they can hurry up and get their Battle Fury. They're waiting for the Ring of Regen or boots so they can get their Tranquil boots. You have this window where they're out of regen and they can't really do anything or pressure you, and you really want to hammer them down during this time so you can take advantage of this. When the support is away pulling or warding, so usually there's a carry in the safe lane, and he has a couple babysitters just doing everything for him, babysitting him, harassing you, protecting him from you guys going on them. But if they're away pulling or warding, pulling is maybe like a 10 to 20 second window, or stacking even. Warding is a little bit of a longer window. You can go on this carry and kill him during this time period. And it's important that you take this this advantage that you have, and even pressuring him so he doesn't get creep kills is good use of it. And enemy heroes are inadvertently taking extra damage, whether it be tower, creeps, whatever it may be. In the mid lane, some examples, when you get your bottle, you're really strong at that point, and especially when your opponent does not have one, so you really want to pressure them hard so they can't get their bottle as fast as you did. Another one is acquisition of a rune. If you have a haste, that pretty much guarantees the next rune, and you can always threaten the opponent, especially if they don't have boots or anything like that. And when you hit level 6 and they don't, for example, in a very close matchup like Puck vs. Quap, that level 6 is extremely important. And if they're level 5 and 90% of the way into level 6, don't let them get that last 10% if you can get a kill on them, or at least pressure them out of lane. Do something with it. So some item examples. Your Queen of Pain has Orchid, gank before their Troll gets BKB, their PL gets Diffusal and diffuses it off, their Puck gets Yules and dispels it using Self-Cyclone, or Manta Style also dispels Silence. So you will really want to make use of this Orchid. If you aren't going to make use of it, again, then just get something safer like a Scythe of Vice. Scythe of Vice is generally a better item than Orchid, but it's more expensive. So if you're going for the cheaper one, make sure you actually gank and use it before they get any of these items. So when your Clinks has Orchid, you want to gank before they get Ghost Scepters. This is extremely important because Ghost Scepter is much cheaper than the items above. BKBs, 3,900, Diffusals, 300, Yules, like almost 3,000, and Manta around 5,000. Ghost Scepter is only 1,600, so you only have a pretty small window until they can react to this. Generally, it's their supports farming it though, so it may be a little bit longer, but regardless, you still want to gank before they can get their Ghost Scepters and nullify the effect of the Bone Clinks. Your enemy has Hand of Midas. You want to kill them before they get a gold advantage. I see far too many people just like, oh, they get Hand of Midas, we'll just play the farm wars. It's not going to work most of the time. And you really want to pressure them while they have this Hand of Midas, but not anything else. And when your carry has BKB, you want to win fights before the enemies get Abyssal Blade or Scythe. Like a Blink Scythe Initiate will own your BKB carry, as well as an Abyssal Blade, because they can bash you through BKB as well as use the activatable during BKB, and they'll render it not as effective. So make sure you take some team fights and win fights before you get Abyssal or Scythe. Again, if you aren't going to take these team fights, then just go a farming item like Battle Fury or Butterfly on like Luna or something. If you aren't going to fight, then get those items. If you are going to fight, then get BKB. So other dynamic windows in the game: Glyph of Fortification, 5-minute cooldown. Wasted Ultimates, Chrono Exorcism. These are not as long as 5 minutes, but you can still definitely take advantage of them. RP, Ravage, all those good things. No Observer Wars on the map. This one's a little bit more difficult because not always will you know if they have Observer Wars or not, but generally you can tell. For example, people like to lay wards around this 0-minute mark and a little bit after the first nighttime, so you can usually gank in between like the 6 to 7 minute window. That's a pretty good time to gank. When there's a large neutral camp stack that's highly contested, after they get that, they're going to have this big gold advantage, so you want to try and contest them when they're vulnerable and weak and they're tanking this big ancient stack or something like that. Roshan and Aegis. This can work as the aggressor or the defender. If you're the aggressor and you have the Roshan and you have the Aegis, you want to make sure you use it. If you're the defender, you want to hit them around like the 540 mark or after, so that the Aegis will expire mid-fight. So you can use this both ways. And lastly, player disconnection. If someone disconnects, hurry up and push. Take advantage of the 4v5. So in closing, windows of opportunities will always be there, but it's up to you to take advantage of them. And I notice a lot of people, they just like sit back and play passively when they should be playing aggressively, whether it be you have a one-on-one matchup in the safe lane and you have like the safe lane advantage. Your window of opportunity is only going to be for first 5 or 6 minutes when the laning phase really matters. Or, if you have level 6 in mid in this Puck vs. Quap matchup, you better try and use it. And better players are cognizant of these windows and play around these opportunities, whether they are the aggressor or the defender. So you don't always have to be like the person like with like, for example, I gave an example with like Quap and Orchid. You don't always have to be the Quap and take advantage of it by ganking people. You also have to be on the defensive side sometimes and be like, oh crap, Quap has an Orchid, I better play defensive and get my BKB before that happens, and ward up and counter gank and all that good stuff. Or if you're the carry player and the support goes off to pool and then they take advantage of that and play aggressively on you and try and go on you, you can try and tell your support, hey, these guys are playing really aggressively on me when you're gone. Just try and fake back, which means just go into fog somewhere, pretend like you're doing something else like pulling or warding, and just immediately, as soon as they use their spells on your carry, you just go out and own them. And oftentimes they'll yield a kill. So you have to play to both sides of it, not just one. And that's just part of becoming a better Dota player. And there's a lot of other windows of opportunity and timing windows that I didn't really talk about, but that's up to you to try and take advantage of them. I can't babysit you into becoming a better player. You just have to realize that these are there and take advantage of them and even create them yourself. And lastly, this is my Microsoft Paint job. Top is Radiant, 0 to 45 minutes. Bottom is Dire, 0 to 45 minutes. There are only like 3 heroes on each side just because there's already too many bars and there's a lot more going on in a Dota game than an SC2 game, so it can only have a limited number of lines. But these are like pretty big turning points for Radiant. Gyrocopter hits 6, he gets his call down. Magnus hits 6, he gets RP. Chen hits 5, he gets 2 creeps. I should have put Chen hits 7, and he gets 3 creeps and he can push. Magnus gets Blink Dagger. These are all pretty big acquisitions. Rapier, Aegis, Refresher Mag, and these are like when you are really, really strong. And although like the gold graph in game is usually like pretty fluid, as well, not really during team fights, but outside of team fights it's pretty fluid. Like a Black King bar is that last 1300 gold is much stronger than like the Ogre Club or the Mithril Hammer. So like the graph of how strong your team is like spikes up as you get these big items or big levels or anything big like that. But the gold graph will just be pretty smooth. So that last 1300 gold, if you can like imagine a usefulness curve, it spikes up and you really have to take advantage of that when your opponent is more stagnant. And on the Dire side, we have Nyx acquires Phase Boots, Tidehunter hits level 6, he has his Ravage, so there's already a window right here, right? Around like 5:30 when Mag hits 6, and until about 8 minutes where Tidehunter does not have Ravage, you can use that opportunity to take some team fights, force 5-on-5s, maybe an early tower push, or just take a T1 out. Wisp hits 6, you would have to play differently if you are Radiant. And then there's a window right here too, when Mag has his blink and Tidehunter doesn't have his blink. So you can use this again to take advantage during team fights. Nyx acquires Armlet, Wisp acquires Mech, Nyx gets his Basher, and Gyro gets his Butterfly around 33 minutes. And he has like about 5 minutes until Nyx acquires his MKB, and you should really try and utilize that evasion and that attack speed while you can. And I think that was a specific example that the user was talking about, just because I specifically remember, hey, there was this timing window where Gyrocopter has his Butterfly and they don't have any MKBs, and you really do need to take that to great effect. And smart players will get MKB even earlier because they see that early Eagle Horn or they can see that early Talisman of Evasion and try and minimize this window as much as possible. But that concludes Merlini's Mailbag episode 15. If you like my videos, please subscribe to me at youtube.com/merlinidota, and thanks everybody for watching.